Hi everyone. Right now we're looking at agent framework monitoring, which was just released in beta version. So Maria, can you tell us why monitoring is important and monitoring AI agents is
Yeah,
important?
exactly. Monitoring AI agents is crucial because it helps us ensure that we are performing as intended across many different dimensions, like how reliable is the agent, how accurate, safe, and etc. And also we can detect and mitigate issues before they go into a critical state or to a production state.
And so what is exactly the monitoring agent framework in Databricks that was just released?
So it is a set of tools and APIs that can help us track and evaluate the performance of all the deployed agents on Databricks. And it's a structured way to monitor now.
And in this framework, what are LLM judges? How does that relate to this framework and to monitoring in general?
Yeah, so we're going to use LLM Judges as a way to evaluate our agents, and we can use the judges now to assess the agent outputs based on some criteria, like how relevant they are, safe, and how they follow the guidelines we have passed, and as well as how ground to truth they are given a context we are providing. So we can use these LLM Judges now, as well as all the traditional metrics we usually use, like how much latency we have and how much throughput.
Awesome. And what exactly are we evaluating here? What kind of metrics are we talking about?
Yes, usually we care about three things. One is the more traditional metrics or operational metrics, like again, how latent the application is, how many requests we're receiving, errors, and etc. Then we have the quality metrics that we can use the judges for, like ground to truth, safety, and everything else that we can do in a predefined LLM judge way. Or then you can define your own guidelines and make it much more relevant and context, like business specific context now.
Awesome. Should we look at a demo?
Yes, so let me share my screen. Cool, now so we are on Databricks, and what we're gonna do for this demo to showcase this new monitoring functionality is we're gonna define a mock agent at this point, and then we're gonna use these predefined LLM judges to start judging our agent against these criteria. So we're gonna create this endpoint, send in some traffic, and then perform this monitoring and evaluation. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So we're gonna bring here all the required things. So what is our current catalog and schema? So the UC setup. And then here it's just a mock-up agent that is really taking some documentation from Databricks, as in what is agent monitoring and etc. and should be able to answer these kind of questions. And we're gonna use the Llama 3.3 70 billion for this as our LLM. And we can set the code so it just does a basic RAG stuff. And then we are just predicting, testing
Can you
locally that
just
the agent.
zoom in a tiny bit?
Yeah, zooming.
Just a tiny bit. Thank you.
Cool. So then we're just testing locally our agent. So we are passing a question and we're expecting the agent to know, given the context, like bring the right context to be able to answer the questions. As you can see here, and of course the tracing as well. And then we are gonna log this model so that we can serve it later. And here is where we are just hitting the predict function, registering the model, and we're deploying with the deploy function. So by default, this deploy function, when we serve it, it starts tracking, the accuracy, throughput, and errors. But what we want to do now is, apart from these operational metrics that come out of the box, we want to start adding extra monitoring functionality and now adding the judges. So after you have served the endpoint and it is up and running, then you can go and configure your extra metric. So you are receiving the monitoring through the endpoint you have just spinned up. And then what you can do is expand it. So these are the extra monitoring configs that are released through the beta. And you can say so when we have an endpoint running, it can receive a lot of requests. Now, what we can do is take a percentage of these requests and pass it through the judges. So this is what you define with a sample, what is the percentage of requests you want to get out to pass it through the judges. And then you have to explain which metrics you want to judge the question answer against, right? So, and then you can add some global guidelines. For example, is the answer in English? Is it clear? Is it relevant? La la la. You can pass anything else here. You can customize it and build your own guidelines depending your business and your context. And that is your monitoring. And then as you start sending requests now to this endpoint, as requests come in this case, we have mocked the traffic, so we pushed a lot of requests to the endpoint. You can then spin up this monitoring page that now comes out of the box, so you don't have to build anything. So I spinned up this monitoring like yesterday, so you'll see some data yesterday and today. But what we can see now is number of requests coming into the endpoint every day. And then against all our judges, so all the predefined judges and our baseline, like how many of these requests failed and passed each day. So this is the overall assessment, and this is now for each specific judge. So this is adherence to the guidelines we have passed. This is how grounded truth it is. This is how relevant it is. This is the global ratings. This is how safe it is, and etc. As you can see, you can start getting all the judges like in isolation.
And so,
then
as you said, you could take just a certain percentage of those requests to pass them
yes,
through LLM Judge evaluation. Got it.
yes. For example, if you have like a lot of requests per second, you don't want to pass all of your requests
Yeah.
through the judge. It's gonna be like a very heavy job. You can get a percentage, like a random percentage, and just pass this through the judges. Now, behind the scenes, all the data are logged in Delta tables, and here you can see kind of in a more kind of the evaluation for each row here as well and against the judges. I have to zoom out a little bit here for you to see better. So like here are all the questions we were passing and all like the overall judgment for each question and how it performed against all the relevant judges that we created. And here on the chart, you see the overall setting of those. And then you can also see the operational metrics, as in the latency, how many tokens coming in and out on average, and any errors will also appear here. So the beautiful thing with this is now it's automatically linked. You don't have to build the pipelines behind the scenes to, take the request, sample it, pass it to the judges, update the dashboard, and etc. It's coming out of the box as a solution now under your model, really.
Yeah, for those that follow the channel, I think a while ago we did a demo where I walked through like this notebook that you could import in order to create a monitoring dashboard over an agent. At the time, we discussed the fact that it was really great and that we suspect at some point they will make it available, out of the box in Databricks. Seems like that's exactly what they've
This
done.
is
So you
exactly,
no longer need to import this notebook. Seems like similar functionality that we see now out of the
exactly,
box, which is great.
exactly. And of course, you can see here all the traces from the requests coming in and out and being processed. And then after they're being processed, they are passed in the monitoring page. And that's it, really.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.